both teaching at University of Pennsylvania. And I think once you meet Kinya, it's very, very difficult for people to forget him. From the first time that I met him, it was really fantastic to notice the way he was doing sketches. And he was sketching the whole time. And I'm glad that Sandra tells me that Kinya is still continuing now. He sketches every single detail of everyday life, so to speak. And I think it's this attention to the everyday, to details, to the way things are made, that really, in a sense, distinguishes his work. Kinya is part of a very well-known Japanese group of architects who are called Team Zoo. This group was originally started from the amalgamation of two other groups, a group that Kinya started called Atelier Mobile, and another one which was Atelier Zoo. Atelier Mobile meaning running bird, and Atelier Zoo or Team Zoo meaning elephant. And this is a group of people who were, many of them at Waseda University and students of Professor Takamasa Yoshizaka. And this idea of different groups with primarily animal names really speaks very much also of a philosophy that Professor Yoshizaka had, that Kinya was telling me, the philosophy of discontinuous continuity. In a sense, the group of architects, these groups under the names of the different animals, come to speak of both the difference that these individual practices would have, but also of the kind of complementarity that they would also have as teams that are, in a sense, part of a much larger nature that collaborate and help each other. So at the moment, there are many ateliers which make up the larger group of Team Zoo. Groups such as Atelier Honkan, Atelier Gai, meaning bull, Atelier Iruka, a dolphin, wani, crocodile, bear, dragon, whale, and so on. And I think this is a very interesting phenomenon for us, because we're also operating in the context of a culture where the relationship between architectural practices is on the whole very competitive. And to find a situation where practices actually have their independence to a certain degree, but they collaborate based on, for example, the kinds of projects they have, or on the proximity of a project to an office, so that if you, for example, get a project that is closer to another practice's office, you might also collaborate with that office. And I think this speaks of a very interesting form of collaboration, as well as the fact that I think these groups incorporate other disciplines apart from architecture, that of landscape, urban design, graphic arts, furniture design, editing, craftsmanship, and so on. And I think it's a fantastic way of working, both in terms of multiplicity of disciplines and also in terms of the idea of larger scale collaborations for different kinds of projects. So I think we're all looking forward to the presentation of Kinya Muruyama, who is going to speak about the concept of Fudo and space, the relationship between wind and soil. Would you please join me in welcoming Mr. Kinya Muruyama?
Thank you very much. It's a nice introduction. It's a little bit too much. We are not so well organized team. It's a very loose organization, and we are very lazy. Means we don't like work much. So we don't have a project, not so good design fee. We never had. Anyway, we continue our work since end of 60s, and always we are not on mainstream in modern architecture. Always we are outsider. Somehow our professor Yoshizaka grown us like this very lazy architect team. But we play soccer, teamwork as play soccer. And one of our team's member was a soccer player, and he brought this idea in our team. And now it's only young staff, young team member play soccer. But when I was young, means when we began the team, everybody play, even women. And there was a soccer league by architecture office, and we won every time, every season, because we tried to change every 5 minutes the members, and most of other architect office had a real good player, but we was like amateur. We had very hard training. Every probably 2-3 days a week we had the training, and training means play soccer in a small park near the office, and also we attended marathon every year, and everybody should run about 10 kilometers. That was the obligation. So a couple years we won continuously this league, but we described this play soccer with a certain formation is very close to our work, the architecture work in office as a collaboration. Means independently should play own idea, but you should think always who is around there, who you should send your idea, or when you receive the ball or idea, how you change, how to give to others. That was a very good training for us. So still I think young staff are doing similar things. Team Zoo really started at Okinawa project. Was beginning of 1970s. And that time, still Okinawa was not in Japan, was occupied by American. And we learned a lot from Okinawa nature, learn about environment, and also design, more vernacular design, which they had, because probably you know, the Okinawa is a small island in tropical area, and close to China and Taiwan, and far from Japan. So they had the very strong influence from China, and also from tropical southern Polynesian, and also from Japan. And this great mixture created a very special culture. And also the nature is very, very hot and damp. And also many insects. Not so good for today's young people, but the climate is wonderful. And when Okinawa returned to Japan from American occupied, the government thought Okinawa was very poor, and the level of life was low. The terms of standard of Japanese life. So government wanted to rise up this life economical level. But we thought the Okinawa's life and culture seems very, very high, and more high level they had, because they eat very good food, they have a great culture. So we propose many projects more based on Okinawa culture. But government sent many architects in Okinawa for new facilities as modern architects. So you will see a couple of interesting beginning of our team's work in Okinawa. And then gradually we separated, means we moved to other city and work more independently. And sometimes we work together as a small group, or depends the project. If we find some other team's office nearby project, we ask to collaborate again. About the Fudo, the theme of today's slides, it's a bit difficult to explain. The Fu is wind, and Do is soil or earth. This was invented 1930s. One of philosopher of Japan, when he traveled in Europe, he described Europe as a so poor nature, means from the trees and insects. This idea was very interesting. He find already the soil of Europe doesn't have many, how to say, the bacteria. Actually, that's true. If you count the number of bacteria in Japan, we probably 1,000 times more than here. So, you know what that means? The trees, the family is different. Japan has more and grown faster, and probably the speed of the life of nature is quite different. That was his discovery. And he put it, these phenomenon will give us a different idea, different culture, the result of design or everything. So this is interesting study of Japanese, very interesting environmental idea. And our team's interested in these words, and always when we have the project, we will look around more carefully. And as Moison said, we should sketch and describe more details of nature or the site. Probably we will begin to see some scenery of Japan, and gradually I will show our project. As you know, Japanese or your country also, everybody loves these flowers, nature. Please continuously going on, please. The slides. Even in rice paddy or agricultural field, the farmer grown the flowers. And if you look in the mountain, many trees, which is indigenous or planted. The right-hand side shows many planted woods, which is regularly grown. Next, please. Some of this is a cypress, and the right-hand side shows cedars, forest. So almost all planted. I'm sorry. The right-hand side shows when the forest is not good maintenance. When they don't have a good maintenance, there is many branches left. The left-hand slide shows very good care the wood. These are very important for keep the produce the wood qualities. And if you look, rice field, we prepared the baby rice in the greenhouse and planted in the water. This scenery you can see in May or June. This is a very important season, looking at nature or relationship between our action to the nature. Next, please. So after the planted in the water, the rice will go in growing, and also this is the left-hand side. It shows a very nicely landscaped on the mountainside, which is the great landscape of Japan. Not only the gardens, but if you look, there's the end of forest or plain already began to change to like housing development going. Some of part, for example, here you can see very, very organic forms. Rice paddy is still there, but most of part was changed by a government project to make a more bigger rice paddy for machine use. And then gradually the farmer sell the land for other purpose, which also the government thinking. And then in fall, in September, October, we harvest the rice. Next, please. Do you know, maybe you know that Japan has many mountains. About 80% is covered with mountains. The 20% we grown the rice and agriculture, and we built and we living. Means most of part is already touched by the people. We have very few natural landscape. Means almost all parts are very well organized. And if you abandon this and touch nature, next please, you know it comes disaster. When we are very well maintained the untouched part, these farmers' houses was well maintained also. They use the thatch by made from thatch, but also they use a rice straw, which is very important for the builder houses. The rice straw has silica contained. So silica is a very important chemical for keep the things good. Next, please. And depends area, we have so many different materials. For example, reference slide shows how to say the small tip of wood, wood siding, wood roof covered. Right-hand side shows with bulk of cypress with stones where they have many wind. Next, please. And also where they have a heavy snow area, they have a very steep roofs, so it's such. And also we have some mud work with rice straws. The mud is very important for agriculture also. For rice paddy made from this clay, the rice paddy bed should be waterproof. So we use this mud, and meantime we use for wall. But actually, this mud wall is used for special use. Next, please. This is where, how to say, the storage houses. But if you look, the texture of the mud with the rice straws, it's very, very warm and nice. And when this mud shrink, the straw stay there, makes a very naive detail of texture. Next, please. And also, these beams very well calculated by farmer. They planted, they grown as like this, and then they use. It's incredible thinking. And also very roughly finishing, and sometimes with carpenter, many times without carpenter. Mud wall and clay, baked clay or ceramic, to protect the rain and moisture and against the humidity. It is a warehouse or sake brewery. They use this mud wall. Mason work in Japan is very few. Most of mason we can find is southern part of Japan and Okinawa. Left-hand slide shows Okinawa's castle, coral stones mason work, and the right-hand slide is also the west part of Japan's big farmers' house basement. Next, please. Right-hand side shows one of Shinto famous Ise shrine, which is representative of rice god, celebrate the agriculture, and also the god of agriculture. And every 20 years, this shrine rebuilt with new materials. The 20 years means the beginning of decaying these natural materials, because 20 years, and the last year or 2 years ago, it was the 63rd year changing, rebuilt it. 63 times by 20 years means 13 centuries. We'll keep the same form, same technique, same details. It's an incredible idea. But on the other hand, this very vernacular, more organic form we have, still continuously designed without architect. Next, please. Some of old Japanese painting influence from Chinese or Korean art. The 11th century, we established already the Japanese style. The many paint or scrolls shows the architectonic space in between interior and exterior, landscape and the architectural relationships, the flowers and plants and gardens, and the people's life. Mostly shows love story. Begin in between inside and outside. Next, please. Looking from inside to outside, or using many screens, cut it or make a relation. It's very important space for Japanese climate, this in-between buffer space, transition space, or many ideas come from here, many lifestyles and architectural details. Next, please, which is still we can find this very open space. So all based on Japanese climate, which is today's modern architect forget this space, how it was important, how still it's available for our life today. Next, please. This space is cut the sunlight of summer, and also cut the rain and mist and fog. But still, we can make a good relation between interior and outside. People come visit here as an entrance or salon. Sometimes tea houses are a similar idea with different screens. Next, please. So not only openness, we need also sometimes in winter we need to close this opening. So there are many different ways to close door and shutter or screens. From interior, from outside, you can see famous there's many layers of wall or screens or grill. It makes a really nice space. Not only visually, physically also we need these. The shoji screens can go up or down or sliding. Next, please. These are things you know very well. If you look at the nature in Okinawa, they have also many trees and plants. They love plants. Next, please. In village, traditional Okinawa village has many trees against typhoon. Typhoon is very curious, difficult things to keep the life away from strong typhoon. So they planted many trees around the village and also around the houses, which became like a really strong fence and a nice street. Next, please. Inside of this wood or a fence, there is this very similar buffer space we can find. But they have a very special name about this in between, inside, outside. They call this space amahaji, which is not at all same as Japanese idea, which is edge of rain or edge of heaven. In Japan, we call this is engawa or nokishita, which is under the eave or the place of terrace. Okinawa, they call more poetically, and of edge of the rain. And this space, as you see it in summertime, they made a very nice shade, and also these columns against the typhoon pressure, reduce wind pressure, and also support the very heavy roof, which is also against strong wind. The roof tile with mud. You see the behind of this such, there is many mud, clay for fixed tile, roof tiles. And roof tile itself covered with or jointed with lime, real lime. It's not plaster for against the flying. 1974, we got a commission to design the community center in small village in Okinawa. We studied all the small village in Okinawa, how they use the community center as a very small element of economical community. We designed small rooms as an independent room, and under the big roof. This was a design. First idea was use the roof tile, traditional Okinawa roof tile, covered with roof tile with timber structure. But village commission against this idea. they had many termites. So we obliged to use a concrete roof. And then we realized the concrete roof is not so good for against the heat. So we put it roof pergola on the top of concrete roof. And then we began to plant a certain plant to make a shade. Next, please. So you see the plants is growing up. Could you back one slide? You see the many columns, which is explained, we find in Okinawa's traditional houses has this between inside and outside corridors. This idea comes from these traditional houses. And plants are important. Means we planted, our idea was plant bougainvillea, which was one of old plants they had. But we made a big mistake that the soil was very bad here, the landfill area. So we didn't know how to grow the bougainvillea, and bougainvillea doesn't grow faster that place. So we planted dummy plants, which is fast-grown plants, to cover as possible as soon. We chose the imported Hawaiian plants called wood rose. Next, please. This is this buffer space beautifully makes a shadow and really reduced the typhoon, the pressure. And the community people helped us design the pavement. We prepared many shells and invite the kids and senior people. They enjoyed. And still these people who did, they visit here to see own work. Next, please. This was a very early our collaboration with community people. And we thought a pergola, a timber pergola, we can keep 5 years, it's enough. And then afterwards, the plant will cover the roof. But reality was 11 years we could keep that pergola. And then this terrible vine, the wood rose grown very faster, and it becomes so heavy. It's incredible. The plant is very well grown. Next, please. And then that was really, we thought we wanted how to hide our work in nature. But it was so quickly covered. 5 years is already completed. And then, next please. Something happened with typhoon. The pergola is slowing down because, I can show, this is a room, has a ceiling, and then concrete roof. And then you see the pergola is covered. So air can passing in between this pergola and concrete roof and ceiling. Kind of a triple roof we made. But the plants were growing from here. And the first idea was bougainvillea. And then we planted the other side, the wood rose. And wood rose grown already covered, and bougainvillea couldn't grow well. But one thing happened which we didn't know. The wood rose in Okinawa, they lose the leaves in wintertime. So the leaves stay here, you see? Because the roof, concrete roof, we couldn't make a more steep form. Means without concrete form, if you make a double concrete form, you can make a more steep. But we didn't have budget, so we made a maximum rise of concrete roof, and then we put it pergola roof more steep. So this space, all the leaves come stay these 2 points. The leaves, you know, it's a very good fertilizer. So what's happened? This is a good place for termite. The many termites begin to survive here. And then they begin to eat these pergola. That was 11 years after. And then came a very strong typhoon. So when the village people saw this damage, they said, that's why we said we are against to use the wood. And they begin throwing down all the plants and burn that. Next, please. It was a very shame. And it comes like that. Then I began to organize the rebuilt pergola, the kind of workshop during the summertime. Asked all Japanese students from all over Japan, about every year about 20 or 25 people coming to help us to rebuild pergola. Next, please. So all these volunteer. So the local government never helped us. But we continuously make a pergola since 4 years, and almost all we finished. But again, we use this very bad wood rose plant as a dummy. But this time, we are very carefully using this. Next, please. Means every year we try to cut and manage. And other hand, we begin to plant the bougainvillea again with use a good soil. And we made this clay tile, digging about 1 meter, and put it natural fertilizer and the good soil. And also to this point, you see, here and there, we made a kind of channel with charcoal. We used the plastic bottle filled with charcoal for bringing the air inside the soil for this bougainvillea. Next, please. So now the bougainvillea grown very well. Okay, these houses are a local Okinawa house. It's terribly bad, but for us, it's a very interesting style. It's a kind of without architect design, the concrete block design. And they paint terrible color. And all these ideas come from America. American don't. It's a good idea because the concrete block is strong against the termite. Termite can't eat. So the American, the Navy people, find Navy has a very good research team. When they arrived in Okinawa in 1945, when they finished the war, they began to search what they can get the material from the island for make a base of American. So they described the sand from the beach is very, very good. And also they find many limestones, lime or coral. They thought the concrete block is one of a very good material for rebuild Okinawa. So people began to copy this idea, and also they copy the color of American. And then the Japanese architect, when they came in Okinawa, they hated this construction. But only our teams, we was very interested about these local materials and local style. Next, please. On the other hand, we described many interesting architecture, mostly religious ritual temples, vernacular religious things, also made from timber, but they use a very hard timber against termite. And the roof tiles with fixed with lime. Next, please. And also still, when we research the village, we find this thatch roof construction. If you look, the person is here. You can see the scale of this hut. It's very important for the village people. The place for play to the god. So this ritual place every village had. And they use a natural coral stone for column. And thatch roof was rice thatch, I think. And when they had some trouble in the village, they came to pray here. The mostly old women, certain women come to here. And also when they don't have rain, they come to pray to have the rain. Next, please. This was a very important things we discovered. And then when we had a competition in Nago City Hall in Okinawa 1980, we used all these, our acknowledgement about Okinawa, put it in competition, and we won. That was an interesting story. We worked already in Nago City as an architect. We made a couple of projects we did, but mayor began to doubt us. We was very lazy, and we changed many times design. So mayor began to really hate us. But on this competition, we thought we can get this new city hall design, especially we can design, but mayors decided don't give to teams. So they began to make a competition. That's why we did very well. The idea of this city hall shows this conceptual sketches. The plan is a kind of zigzag plan, and this facade is huge, very plain, which is against the sea, which has a very big view. And then this side is a small scale down face to the village or city, which has a very small houses there. And we use that ritual space as a terrace. We call that small thatch roof structure called asagi. So we put it the name Asagi Terrace, which is just not for the play, just in between the officer and the people. And people can use this space as a free, open space. The plan is here, and you see the many columns we designed. And some of columns are neglected because when the jury decided to choose there was 2 stages. First stage, the jury chose the 5 architects. And then the second stage, we proposed this one. And when they decided to open the name, the mayor described our team's name. And there was architect Maki, and the Seike was in this jury. And they pushed our project very strongly. And the mayor was against this project. So the jury was negotiated and asked us one condition about neglect these 4 columns from office space. And when they decided to choose us, we was ski camp. Everybody was in the mountainside. And when the jury wanted to contact us for explain this condition, if we can change this plan or not, we was not there. So somehow the jury described where we were, and jury phoned us in the hotel and asked us to come down to Okinawa about this condition. We said, no, we are in vacation. And I think a couple of weeks later, no, 1 week later, again the jury asked to come, otherwise you will lose. So we went to there and discussed about how to do this plan. Because the plan, the 4 columns, each point, was very important for us for make some certain small scale space, which is here, and this bottom has always very interesting space. And this is Asangi terrace there, also for the people's activities. So the jury always said you should change this plan, and we said no. And sometimes we made full-scale this space model with newspaper. And then finally we accepted some columns taken off. Then we could build this one. But next please. The idea is started from hut, and very small scale houses go to this city hall. They use local materials, but the cheap houses doesn't have roof tile like that. They had cement roof tile, which we used also, and also concrete block for city hall. Next please. At that time, many of Japanese city hall built it the modern way, use the concrete and the metal and many grasses, and air conditioning. But we didn't use these materials, and we use local concrete blocks. But our idea use concrete block, special design, L-shaped concrete block with 4 corner with L shape makes a big column. So inside of this concrete block has iron work and fill the concrete as a concrete form without concrete form design. One of the requirement of this competition, next please, was how to describe the Okinawa culture, how to show Okinawa culture to people, and also what is a new city hall, and also without air conditioning. So we proposed many ideas about without air conditioning system, that such as pergola, and make a more porous spaces, and use the plants again. This time it's very well grown. We didn't make a mistake. Next please. So already this was 5 years later, almost the first pergola Asagi space was covered. This is the face to the sea side, where the very important part has here and there the many holes you can see. This is the big mouth to catch the wind, which is breeze come from the sea, continuously coming the breeze, and also many lions on top of columns. 56 lions. And the mouth to get the fresh air coming in inside of office space. You see the columns which we neglected. Still we show this. The air coming from the seaside and getting inside. But this channel hold on the building, and the middle of the the channel, there is a wall. So all the fresh air coming in and then goes up to exhaust other end. So kind of real big fresh air ventilation system. The gain's about 4 or 3 or 4 degrees than outside. Was enough to keep cool inside. So you see the 4-column space as a waiting room or a relaxing space, play the chess, or we use many other purpose. So lions designed by local roof craftsmen. Every area has a craftsman. This is against the devil, and the idea come from China. And usually the houses, next please, the local house has only one on top of roof against the devil, which very often come from intersection of the village. Next please. So the craftsmen make own style, and naturally the face of a lion came the same as a craftsman's face. And we used many craftsmen, the Thai craftsmen were local. And when we finished this city hall, next please, usually the sea, Bay of Nago has many dolphins come in. But when we finished, no dolphin came in. So the group of the party against the mayor began to say, we made so many lions in the building. That's why the dolphin didn't come. That was a very serious problem for them. But fortunately, we got the prize from Architectural Society in Japan at that time. And then they begin to say nothing. But next year, fortunately, we got many dolphins in the bay. So this is a community center. We working as a volunteer workshop. Meantime, we make many times kiln to make lime. Next please. So Okinawa red soil is very good to make ceramics and also other purpose. We try to use adobe and also mud structure. Next please. And every year we try to make a kiln to bake lime, to get the real lime, which is already gone. Before, when we came in Okinawa 1970s, still they had real lime kiln, baked coral and shells. But now they produced by company, and we tried to make lime to produce the roof tile fixed lime, and also lime is very good against termite. So we try to produce again. Next please. And mud is one of very interesting material for us. And this is not in Okinawa. Everywhere we have a good soil and make certain pressed, dry pressed mud blocks. Next please. Always we trying with workshop. This is a round arts project for performing theater, outdoor performing theater, underground. Next please. This is the Waseda, my school's students' workshop, underground construction. Next please. They use lime against the wall. Next please. This was the couple years ago in France. Chateau de Chaumont invited me make a garden with the wheat and then hop for pergola, and then Ramdar's terrace there. And my idea was make wheat and hop to make beer. But a little bit difficult. This was an exhibition of landscape in France. Next, please. This is one other mud workshops. The student built this guest house for plaster craftsmen. Next, please. Very, very cheap scaffolding, construction scaffolding rug and corrugated plastic sheet with mud. So recently they completed this project with other wing. Next please. Even without architect, we can make a nice project. This is one of other mud project I did with student, Hunter's House. The model, next. Rammed earth. The thickness wall, the bottom of wall is about 150, and the top of the wall about 5 meters. The height comes about 90 centimeters. And the interior has several steps for exhibit the things. This was mixed with cement, with mud. Next, please. Alama, sorry. The floor is cold press mud tiles, and wall you see the many stones, so we put it on in. Next, please. And many of these lampshades, I'm sorry, I didn't see. The lampshades are made by my staff. Many work with plaster craftsman and the student. Next, please. The many work we do with craftsmen at the construction site means we talk a lot with them. They usually contractor, they don't want to let us talk to directly to craftsmen, but we talk. Sorry, this is other workshop we done with student, American student, University of Pennsylvania, and Waseda student worked on bamboo project in Awaji Island a couple years ago. Next, please. This was a great big dome project, bamboo big dome project for performing art festival. I used the bamboo as a structure. The strange, very weak bamboo we had, because the bamboo should be cut in the winter time, but this performing art festival was done in summertime, so we obliged to use very weak, very soft, many water-contained bamboo, so it was very weak and bending. Next, please. The dome was about 27 meters, and height was 9 meters or 8 meters. When we finished the main frame on the floor, the community people gathered, about 100 people, tried to push and tilt up this dome. It took about 3 hours. Next, please. And then we added some more element. It was probably the biggest bamboo dome in the world, made by very local, low-tech materials with low technique. The bamboo you can find in the end of or backside of a house, or very often for wind fence. But today, the farmer, they don't care this bamboo forest. So this is a very good case for very well maintained. And every year they can get bamboo shoot for eat, and also they can cut the bamboo for use agricultural use. But now they use many plastic pole or machine they don't need. So all of farmers' backyard has so dense bamboo forest, and then they can't get the breeze coming. So many trouble happen. And my student tried to research about this phenomenon, and they tried to get free material from farmers' houses. They need to someone cut. So always we can go to get bamboo with free. And then this is a couple years ago, Waseda student built a tower in forest to observation the forest. They use the bamboo. Next please. This is last year student project. Also about 12 meters high, and with about 20 students working on. From project to finishing took about 2 months and a half. Next please. The observation, the forest things very interesting. This is a cypress and this is a cedar. So now we're going to show you some other timber problem in Japan. Timber structures, a big question. Next, please. You know this very well made by craftsmen joint, but very often the craftsman shows only the form. Joints, it's as really designed for static reason. But also, other hand, they design for maintenance. How to change the element. The timber is going to decay if it's not good use. So carpenter already designed how to maintain the structure. But now, it's very difficult to use this real timber structure. And this is a 1975. I designed a kind of second house in the forest and used a very good carpenter. The first time carpenter couldn't finish. It was too complicated. So second carpenter, young carpenter did. Next please. It means already 25 years ago, very complicated work. And next please. The plan is curved. Even this work, my staff worked small things with craftsman, lampshade. And also today's this cedar siding, traditional way. Sometimes it's very easy, but sometimes we ask very difficult work. It's not at all for Japanese carpenters' work, because this siding, you know, there's an overlap part. If you make a curve, you can't make properly. But real carpenter, they don't say they can't do when we ask something difficult. So that was a good case. If you have a good craftsman, can do something. Next, please. But very often they can't do real things today. Next, please. Private houses. Also, we use a concrete structure. For example, this is a very steep site with concrete terraces with covered with plants. And from back side, you can see the other form. Next, please. Also, this work was very difficult, kind of an inner amphitheater space in the house, and the roof terrace. Always we use a concrete structure as a structure, and then interior, again, we try to use a traditional carpenter's work. And this project was second house for company freshman's training or kind of retreat house. Next, please. The carpenter was very good, so we could do this project. The concrete part covered with rice paper, ceiling also, and the last floor with timber structure, again carved, very complicated work. Next, please. The 1976, I finished, 1995, this golf club house, half underground, covered with plants, and then the roofs are timber structure. Next, please. The floor also wood, and beams. This is a small concert hall outside of Tokyo. Concrete structure covered with traditional Japanese siding, and the roof also used recycled tile, and the eaves. This should have more long overhang, but I put it this pergola as eave. And the summertime, the plants grown and make a very good shade, and wintertime, they can get more sunlight inside. Inside of concert hall with recycled table, which was used in old school timber beam turned to the table, and this is a very soft stone in Japan, which was local stone, the same as Frank Lloyd Wright used the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo a long time ago. This is a little bit very high-tech project I did, 1982 or something. Come from this orchard idea, which is near the site. There is a many pear orchard, arched, and some interesting flowers form fine. Then this project for used car dealer shop. It's very strange. Metal structure. It seems a little bit high-tech, but very well handmade. Next, please. The client of this dealer loves cats, so I put it many cats item, the flying cats or for weather van and diving cats or something. The first time and last time I used this kind of structure. Next, please. Metal and the ceilings, stainless steel, like a mirror. And the reflection of the used car makes a very nice texture. And second floor was planned as a community use, restaurant and meeting rooms. And this is a restaurant corner there with a table with kind of high-tech technique I used. Laser beam cutted plywood, chairs and lampshade. Again, the cats flying, and many cats light fixture there. This is a recent project in Kyushu Mountain Resort, the volcano. And you see, this is a hotel, which I done. And where is here? Most of this steep slope are planted plants. And then this part, means that this yellow part was for cow, hay, the grasses. It means also this man-made nature. The most of Japanese mountains man-touched. Next please. This is a very important point. So in national park, we needed permission from government, and we should pass the environmental assessment test. We passed all these, and the result was like that. First idea, we thought we should hide all this building in nature, and put it down in the earth, and put it earth on the roof and grow the plants there. But the committee of environmental assessment asked me how you put the earth, and I explained this is all timber structure. We need more light soil put on top. I try to mix with perlite, which is a natural stone, bubbled stones, which has more porous, lightweight things to contain the water or the oxygen inside for growing well the plants. But they said these even natural rocks, which if you use there, was not exist this area. So if it comes out, how you can manage this? I couldn't answer. I couldn't explain how it will be. So they said, you can't use this idea. And then I asked which material we can use. They said, you should use a more traditional one, which is very well hide in nature. Then other things asked me also, if you put the earth there, you will have many insects come in, because all these roof areas for insects is new territory. So the many insects come in here, they will battle, they will fight each other to get own territory, which is most how to say, the milpat, and the insect who has a very bad smell will coming first. So the hotel, all the city people coming stay there, but they can't resist this insect. So all unknown things will happen in this new construction. And then this is already 4 years past, and every year we search about the field, which is how it's recovered, how the insect come in again. All things is a very important part of design. And we will continue this research. We use mud structure. Actually, the year we had this construction, the rainy year, so we couldn't use real mud. We mixed with cement, unfortunately. But we could do this kind of elevated floor the traditional way to pass through the air for ventilation, and also for insect can pass inside of this courtyard. Next, please. Inside the room has 2 levels as a suite, sometimes a tatami room, and dining hall with designed furniture also. We use a local wood for this furniture, but unfortunately these big columns was imported wood. Also the big table from local wood. Door handle made by one of my staff, and lampshade also. So now, already 4 years, almost all plants are recovered as before. But now we're thinking how to think more original world was, because these plants are planted, and this was also. Now the cow don't come here, so we are seeking how the nature was before they planted all these plants. They should maintain this idea again. Next, please. Other project, the highland in Kyushu, same area, the windy and misty. We designed golf clubhouse nearby this cow's world. And when we got this, the client, we discussed in office, next please, if we can accept this project or not. Most of my staff are against this project. The golf course construction in nature is not good idea. And the 80% of my staff is against, and last they said, they begin to say, if we don't design, some other bad architect will design. So I asked the client a certain condition about the environmental problem, and the client accepted this condition. That's why we begin to design this. Next, please. Again, the half underground and concrete basement, half underground with timber. This concrete form, plywood. I tried to left there. And then the second floor, the dining hall and entrance for timber structure. Next, please. This is a central stair hallway with bamboo, local craftsman's work with local wood, cedar. Usually cedar we don't use for this big structure. We tried, yes. And also furniture use the local cedar wood, which we never use for furniture, but we try to use, and it seems very well, very light and soft, and with tatami mat. The many there's glasses work by one of my friends, mixed with craft work, and the roof again. The original idea was put earth and plants, but again the environmental assessment committee asked me about insect story, so we abandoned and put it stone garden there. But we try to put again some plants in these stones. Chairs, benches. Next, please. Nearby this golf club, we made again very destruction in nature. Next, please. Cows living there. We took this cow's life off for make a terrible development. The hotel lodge project, very cheap hotel, and the land was like that, for cow. So all these lines are made by cow. The slopes was very well maintained by cow. You know the weight of cow is terribly heavy. So Oh yes, the first one we did before the hotel project, we did this brewery project, the same area, the beer. It's a strange idea to make a beer on the highland. Next please, all these timber structure. This is a toilet tower with observation deck. Not for looking down inside, it's the outside. So the site name is 8 Lacoon. So I put it the Lacoon weather vane. And the client didn't want to use the Lacoon. Lacoon in Japan is very bad. They lie the man. So the client thought if they sell the beer as a lie, it's not good. I thought Lacoon is a good mascot. So next please. So again we use local cedar, and then the furniture also cedar. But these, it seems like a traditional Japanese carpenter way, but not at all. They use metal and some other way, totally different way than the crafts work. Next please. But still it's timber. This is inside of tower toilet. There is some ceramic work of Lacoon by local artist. Next please. Chairs with Lacoon, and some signboard. And then the same area, next please, the lodge project. Next please. All timber. Next. Now, this is very well done joints, not by craftsman, by computerized cutting machine. This is today's Japanese carpenter way. The many of almost all construction world use this, and the real carpenter technique gone. But also they can't use with cheap budget project. Next please. Next please. So there is a carpenter, but just for assemble the members. But this is the same as this other wing. We used this American balloon structure, the same as the prefab idea. And we use two different ways by according to the budget. Next please. So this is a pre-cut, machine cut structure assembly way. Next please. Even we have a good material, we obliged to use machine today. And some parts my staff work on this kind of ornament design. And this is a traditional roof tile and traditional timber structure, and the other hand has more American balloon structure. Again, the joints. And next, please. the probably we're going to finish. No? Okay. 5 minutes? Okay. Quickly show us a couple of my sketches about food. It's not Fudo, but the sketch is very important. Every sketch is the project based on the sketch. Next, please. The community project. Or this was a brewery project for my sketch. This handwork as a sketch, hand construction in our team is very important. One of our team's member in Okinawa, self-built construction, used Coca-Cola bottles or beer bottles. Next, please. The furniture are very important for us. Even we didn't have furniture in tatami room. Today we design some chair. Next, please. The floor with without tatami, use the tiles or corks. Next, please. Cold press tile or stone wash the floor. Next, please. Even ready-made tiles we design, and very complicated timber chair. Next, please. Weather vane. It's a very important items for design. This was for the cross, the fashion design office. So I designed, this is a rabbit, but as Angola, and this is a sheep by our craftsman's work. Next, please. Weather vanes always important. This is my friend's graphist house, graphic designer's house. The fence and the weather vane, and many weather vane. Next, please. Kids loves this weather vane in the roof gardens, daycare center, and chairs, benches. Next, please. Razor beam cutting chair, the plot types. Some chairs are exhibit in East London University. Recent project. Jigsaw puzzle wall and tables. You can change this combination. Next, please. I think that's all. So the Fudo, it's a very important point for start for design, but also we don't know how to work with craftsmen, with machine-ized computer or all things is still, for me, is a big problem. Thank you very much for a long time. Too much time?
Maybe. No, it's good. It's good. Just right. Maybe.
No question?
One or two questions?
Yes, right, if you have some question. Yes? Yes?
Yes, I'm rather puzzled by your buildings. You like stairs and changes in levels and so on. I'm a bit concerned about the accessibility of some of your buildings. Is disability not one of your criteria? Is it disability something you are not too concerned about in your constructions?
Disability of what?
Access
for handicap? Yes, we do. All these recent projects, we have, barrier-free, you call, or you can use can or wheelchair. There's some rooms for them. Yes.
Only some rooms.
Yes, not all,
Not
I'm
all.
sorry. That I showed several steps we need. Yes, that is very important.
Do you think the use of the buildings then is rather secondary to the being environmentally acceptable?
I think yes. You mean there's free access?
I'm aghast. Are you actually saying that the use of your buildings is secondary then to the fact that you would rather prefer that they are environmentally acceptable?
Yes, it's still in processing, but we concern much about the insect rather than the people. I'm sorry. Architects are always thinking only for people, or include handicapped people, but also you should think more about insects and animals. It's a more, I think, for Earth, for our growth, it's a more important thing.
I think you better take this microphone away from me.
Okay.
Nobody's going to take it.
Thank you very
Everyone
much.
is afraid now.
Yeah.
No, but maybe I think that it would be good if you you started to say something about this question of the impact of high tech
Yeah.
with some of the last projects. And at the beginning, when you were showing some of the temple, the Issa temple that has been going on for so many hundreds of years with
Yep.
the same design,
Yep.
without any kind of change. Now, maybe it's possible that you could say a few words about the way in which, with this impact of technology, you are also beginning to have certain changes in terms of the architecture. That's something that maybe you could say a few more words. How is this idea of the transformation occurring with certain changes in technology?
It's very difficult, if I use this high-tech or more or less use handwork, the point of view, economical way, it's a need. But we lose, other hand, real craftsman's work, which is real cultural things, I think, from come out from your body. So, the other hand, we need to keep this low-tech things, and still we should consider about more something development hand. But I think I should concern more about real craftsman way, which is probably introduced to young architect, young people, to understand more, use own hand and collaborate with craftsmen. Even if you have some really need to use high-tech things.
But do you think that that has changed the nature of the architecture? Because with the first example, what is interesting is that because of the fact that there is this continuity in the tradition, the image of the thing is already something that's part of this tradition. So it's not something that you're designing. In some way, the emphasis is on the quality of the way the thing is made, as opposed to on the way something looks. No? When you are using the technologically made, the mass-produced things, there is something about the idea of assembly. So the question of the making is already something that's out of your hands. It's done in the factory.
Yes.
So you have to also, in some way, put more emphasis on what the thing looks like, how it appears, on its image. Is that something that you notice is changing in Japan in the last 10, 15 years? Or?
Yeah. But still, for example, the carpenter became as a assembler, but still they have a certain notion about crafts or work, craftsmanship. If they have really interesting some project, they will work without thinking about money. That's how to steal this idea from craftsmen. That's one of architect, responsibility. If you think only the economical effects, you can't think that, but if you discuss with craftsmen, always they accept. That is my impression.
I should say, I think Kinya already referred to this, that there is an exhibition of some of Kinya's projects, and including some of the furniture, which is currently at University of East London.
Yep.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. どうも。